got just what you need right here at Femi Wash Media. Call it the Midas Touch, and you wouldn't be wrong. Let us record, produce, mix, and master your audio like nobody does. Reach us on our contact today for the best quality job.
What keeps the heartbeat of a community alive? Is it the courage to create, the power to connect, the vision to transform? Well, it's all of this and more. It's a symphony of ideas, innovation, and industry. But where do these stories come alive? It's right here on The Isle, 104.9 FM, the station where dreams meet action and growth finds its voice. The Isle, 104.9. Business, economy, development. Stay tuned.
Idumota Market. Eko Idumota, once a residential neighborhood, is home to Idumota Market located on Lagos Island. It is one of the oldest and arguably one of the largest markets in West Africa. Idumota is a historic neighborhood adjacent to the Lagos port that facilitated the slave trade, and later, under the British indirect rule, it surrounded to exports that fueled the colonial enterprise. Idumota was also the location of an armed forces remembrance cenotaph called Soja Idumota, built as a monument to Nigerian soldiers who served with the West African Frontier Force. An Eyo masquerade statue and a clock tower are also some monuments at Idumota. Idumota Market is so popular that large sales are recorded as early as 7 a.m. The market is made up of hundreds of locked-up shops occupying several multi-story buildings, with some measuring about 5 or more floors. In 2010, the Lagos State government demolished some illegal structures in order to improve vehicular and human movement in and around the markets. During weekdays, the neighborhood of Idumota is densely populated by shoppers, traders, and bus passengers. From the Carter Bridge ascending into Lagos Island, passengers can see the neighborhood before disembarking at their final destination. Idumota Market accommodates the substantial inflow of imported goods. The bulk of import from abroad are routed first through Idumota and then on to other markets through Nigeria and other West and Central African countries. The energy of private Idumota traders and wholesalers facilitate this activity, where millions of US dollars worth of wholesale is exchanged daily. Idumota Markets, Souq Enlightenment.
Nigeria leather industry has a storied history, particularly in the northern parts of the country, where the art of leather farming and crafting has been perfected over centuries. Traditionally, leather was used primarily for functional items like sandals, bags, and saddles, with little emphasis on fashion. However, the narrative has changed drastically in recent years, as Nigerian leather has evolved from a utilitarian product to a symbol of luxury and high fashion. Here is a special report by Bayo Olaoye. The turning point for Nigerian leather came as local designers began to recognize its potential beyond traditional uses. They started to experiment with new designs, creating products that appeal to the modern consumer while maintaining the heritage of craftsmanship. The result has been a wave of leather products that are not only functional, but also stylish and desirable on the global stage. One of the key factors driving the revolution is the exceptional quality of Nigerian leather. Known for its durability and unique texture, Nigerian leather, particularly from goats and cattle, has become highly sought after by fashion houses both within and outside Africa. This demand has encouraged local artisans to up their game, focusing on quality control and finishing techniques to meet international standards. Moreover, Nigerian leather products have benefited from the global trend towards sustainable and ethically produced goods. Consumers are increasingly turning away from massively produced items in favor of the handcrafted sustainable alternatives. Nigerian leather made using traditional methods with minimal environmental impact fits perfectly into this narrative. This has opened up markets for Nigerian leather goods, particularly in Europe and North America, where there is a growing appreciation for products with a story and a conscience. The rise of Nigerian leather on the fashion scene is also closely tied to the country's booming creative industry. Fashion designers, many of whom had gained international recognition, are incorporating leather into their collections and innovative ways, from sleek handbags and bespoke shoes to stylish jackets and accessories. The Nigerian leather is becoming a staple in high fashion. This trend is not only boosting the profile of Nigerian fashion, but also creating new opportunities for economic growth. The leather industry, once dominated by small-scale craftsmen, is now attracting significant investment. Entrepreneurs are setting up modern tannery and workshops, creating jobs and fostering skills development in the process. This industrialization of leather product is helping to formalize what was once an informal sector, leading to better working conditions and high incomes for artisans. However, the success of Nigerian leather market did not emerge without challenges. The industry still faces issues related to infrastructure, access to finance, and competition from imported goods. Additionally, there is the need for more investment in technology and innovation to further enhance the quality of leather products and make them more competitive in the global market. Despite these challenges, the future of Nigerian leather products looks bright. There is a growing recognition of the value of locally produced leather goods both within Nigeria and globally. This is evident in the increasing number of fashion shows and trade fairs dedicated to promoting Nigerian leather products, as well as the rising demand from international buyers. The evolution of Nigerian leather from a utilitarian material to a symbol of high fashion is a testament to the creativity and resilience of the Nigerian artisans. It reflects the broader trend in the global fashion industry towards sustainability and craftsmanship. As the world continues to embrace African fashion, Nigerian leather is poised to become a major player on the international stage, offering a unique blend of tradition, quality, and style. This is just the beginning of what promises to be an exciting new chapter for Nigerian leather.
I hail from Lagos State, from Isaleko. My father hailed from the Olumegbon family. I attended my primary, secondary education in Ibadan at the time because my mother was there. But my religious practicing was always done during the holidays at Holy Cross Cathedral. I was working in the sacristy. We used to prepare for the Mass on Saturdays, and we sell the news magazine on Sundays in front of the church. And I remembered fondly that we used to tease a man called Sunday Boku Boku at that time, and used to run to chase us and throw stones and how dare you call me Sunday Boku Boku. Those were fun times. Harvest, Corpus Christi. And I was born, raised, baptized, confirmed, married in the Catholic Church. But I got married to Engineer Larry Phillips, who is an Anglican. And I believe that in togetherness of family, it's best we all do things together. So I moved over with him against the doctrine of Catholic Church to the Anglican Church at Marina, where his family belongs and worships. I attended St. Luke's Demonstration School. We used to climb the mango trees, and there was a mixed school. We used to play at during break time. And in my secondary school, it was a Catholic school. And it's for you to be prim and prudish in life, and set you on as a lady. And I got some finesse from there too. And but the most interesting one, and the most that I can call a radical one, because my HSC in Olivet, we tried all sorts there. But it was fun and highly educative too. Sportsmanship was there. And from there, I proceeded abroad for my accountancy. And I was lucky to finish in a record time. And I came back. Did my articleship, but married in between. I met my husband abroad, and we came back home, got married in Nigeria. I worked as an accountant with UAC, very proud of the drill professionally that I got from UAC. It had set me on a discipline for working. And I thank God that I had that opportunity, which still helps me today. Apart from the fact that my educational background sets me to be a diversified person in so many professions. And as an accountant, accountancy is the best of all. It's the creme de la creme. And I've been able to fulfill my professional exposure in every species of responsibilities that I had opportunity to take upon me. And from UAC, I proceeded to work for the bank. I went to politics. I became a commissioner in Lagos State, served with the present president of Nigeria. And you know how Lagos is. Lagos is like a country to other states. We went through governance. My team, as you can see, I have some of my colleagues in Abuja now. I have Honorable Minister Wali Edun. I have Honorable Minister Dele Alake. I have Honorable Mr. Yemi Cardozo, and so forth. And I served in the bank as a director in Keystone. I've been a chairman of so many committees. You can say that again. In different aspects of life. Professional, political, social. And currently, I'm now the chairman of Souq Insurance PLC. When I was growing up, it was so free and enjoyable. We can take off at 11, 12, escort your friends to Bangbushe here. We go and have the Mosa. We go to the stadium. I remember me in my teenage age, I used to go to Nikon Stadium here. We watch so many matches, and I used to be with those fans, dancing and waving our fans, and bazaars, Easter Mondays, Fela Sports. I mean, you name it. It was fun. But Lagos was good for all of us. It was cleaner. It was amazing. Security isn't much to fear, You can just live the way you want. And money and values of life are completely different to what they are today. I was with my grandparents, and we had so many tenants, and we didn't realize they were tenants. We were all playing together, eating together, and we are still like one family today. But the story is not the same again. I wish one can turn around and change it, but we have all given our kids sheltered life for the fear of unknown. And I think the disadvantage is very grievous. I think first and foremost, God gave me the chance, the opportunities to pass through that in the journey of life. It's not only money that can make you successful in life. I want you to get that. It's an added support for you if in life you have the opportunities of parents who can financially support you. But at the same time, there are kids who didn't have any financial support and have been successful. So to me, success is about self-determination. I grew up around uncles and aunties who are thoroughly educated, and I've always had it behind my ambition that I must be in that cadre. And thank God the opportunity was there for me, and I seized it. And I remember myself telling my kids, when I was abroad, I never lived like my father was a rich man. No. I was behind the desk reading and reading till I got successful. And I passed in record time. First and foremost, I think I'm a people's person. Secondly, my educational background. Thirdly, my pedigree. And you can't be a Lagos person and don't have a bit of intelligence about how you can maneuver yourself, even in the midst of challenges. And I can tell you that boardroom politics, especially when you're a woman, is tough. But when you manage those that you sit around with, eventually, when they see that you're there to work, it has no business and basis for any other thing. I've had issues on boards because I'm female, and I put my foot down. It is the work we are doing. There is no gender sensitivity in this issue. Even in my early days as an accountant, when I head the accounting department, it was even tough at that level because the young accounting class, some of them can be daring to say, How can you talk to me like that? How can you make it? And I'll say, please, what do you mean? We need to get this target work done. So it's the work that is talking. That's nothing to do with whether I'm a man or a woman. So I will like the idea of gender reasonableness to be better played. At least for now, we are not having it at 3 1/3, no. But I guess we are in the region of 20%. And it should be better. You give a woman a chance, she will devote her life to it. But, I mean, when we have one or two issues from women who have been there, that should not create hurdle or boundary that you say a woman shouldn't cross. No. Nobody is perfect in life. And I want to let you know, it's tough for a woman. These men, when it is a woman having a corrective measure to be taken, they do not handle it the way they do for the men. They are in a rush to pack the woman out. You see from what has happened all over the world. So I will still make an appeal that women should be given better chances, better allowances. It's so quick to make a woman a scapegoat, the sacrificial lamb. Let's take it easy. And please, women, when they put you there, make us proud. I should remember the other women coming after me. If I make this trouble now, they turn around and say, this is why we don't give them the chance to get to the top. So you manage the situation, you know? And let us remember that Africa is still very chauvinistic. It's still a man's world here. We are only trying. So just give us, for now, our required 33 1/3% as per Beijing recommendation. Having been in politics, there are so many factors that bring you up there. Some sensible, which I would call sensibilities. Some sensitive based, which I would call sensitivity. And some as per geographical distribution. If it's not the turn of your section, your district, there's no way they can put you there. But then sometimes it's the turn of your district, the party supremacy decrees that they don't want to use you. What do? You have to show some resilience as a stable character and do whatever you are given very well. Excel. Somehow, one day, you'll be there. Like Martin Luther King. At the end of that tunnel, I can see the light. Someday, somehow, you get there. I was in tourism shortly, and it's not enough time to propagate the excellence of your work. But in special duties, I give the ministry class. I was able to represent my Lagos State very well. NYC was under me. Proudly, I served. And we ensure that all students that need to go to orientation camp are well registered and got their NYC certificates. It's not about where they put you. It's about what you are able to do in that place. And you do it even to the enviable eye of somebody who believes has the best ministry with a lot of funding and allocation. I'm different in that respect. A hard-working man, a man with a lot of sagacity, a man that is very kind, he has human kindness in his heart, a man that is highly focused. My office was very close to the roundhouse, and I tell you, I wasn't surprised. And I kept telling everybody, I wasn't surprised he got a clinch that position, because I knew that even when in 99, from the day we stepped in, he's been working towards his election in 2003. So a man like that who is focused, his business is the end of the tunnel. All the distractions you are given, it's not, he doesn't consider it. So don't waste your emotions. When you provoke yourself unnecessarily, and the person you are provoking yourself upon is not even responding on that line, you're wasting your time. But he's an astute politician. He knows what to do at every point. And don't try him, because he's a hard knock. And he's easy to forgive. That bit, I don't know how he does it, but it's easy to forgive and move on. He understands politics, maybe from a young age, I don't know, but he seems to have the knack of it at all times. I think that's in the pipeline. I don't have to come here to say that. And even in the insurance company industry that I am now, I'm propagating that, look, you need to take it easy. Is it at these hard times you want to recapitalize the industry and make life harder? Yes, recapitalize, but not with large gap. The variance should not be too much, because you need to recapitalize so that companies will be solidly based to address financial issues and risk issues that we have in the country today. I studied religion for my A-levels in school. I did divinity. It's not just reading Bible. The interpretation, the history, the analogy, all of that I did. And it has helped to shape me for life. It has molded my conscience to a large extent. What I see in religion today, if I go back to the way I have studied religion, I will say I'm worried. The way we have churches established in this country now, I'm talking of my experience in Lagos State. On the street, you can find 6, 8 churches, but there is no school. Education is key. Religion molds the character, the moral values about life. I'm not saying they are all totally condemned, but I think there should be more conferences and seminars to appeal to their conscience. It's one God. And in Lagos, the families, both Christian and Muslims, and the third religion, which is the native religion, we all interact and live together. And usually you find out that all of them talking about this God. I am a Christian. I talk about my God. And I don't denounce anyone in any other religion that faithfully talk about their God. And I don't allow that to affect a lot of decisions that I have to make and didn't affect a lot of decisions that I had made. The expectation is too high. We are still a developing country. The awareness of covering up your risk is not too much there. In terms of life insurance, in terms of property, people are not still there. People don't cover themselves well enough. They take unnecessary risk. I'm glad Lagos State Governor is saying everybody must have a health insurance now. That, again, would expand the scope of the insurance business. In insurance, there are so many seminars, there are so many conferences that are being put up there now, where the ability to educate the masses, and even the high-ups want to please insure yourself. And when I say yourself, your life, your property, your children, and see how far it goes. It is important. And you know, in this era of insecurity, it is highly important. Just make sure you insure yourself. And with what the governor had proposed now, definitely, Governor Sanwo-Olu did well. Health insurance is key. Health is wealth. First and foremost, inflation all over the world has gone haywire. So it's not peculiar to Nigeria alone. Those who live in the Western world, they're crying hula baloo about the price of petrol, the price of even eggs. So it's not just Nigeria. Let us wake up and see that we're in a global world and everything is intertwined. The issue of the central bank now trying to manage inflation, these are not easy times all over the world. They're not easy times. And when I say we are a developing country, we are still trying very hard. I don't want to say it's sad. It depends on the environment. You know, you can't just bring UAE here into Nigeria. The environment here from inception has not delved too much on tourism. Your tourism is just go on holiday and go back. The beaches are there. And even from 1999, they are trying to redevelop along the beach so that tourist activities can happen. And I'm sure they're still on it. You need tourist attraction where you have every aspect of life when tourists come over. But with the problem of infrastructure that we have in the country, you can't do much tourism for now. It wasn't easy, but as I said, once you try to be a bit methodological about it, then, you get by. Because from the days I came back from England, starting a family, working in large corporations, you just ensure that the home front solidly settled. And it wasn't that easy, because you know that I'm talking of almost 40 years back. To be able to excel amidst men, you probably have to do 2 times, 3 times more than them. I'm lucky I have a husband who accepts me being what I am. Because if you have a partner that does not appreciate your ambition and your dream, will not support you. But I have the support of my husband, and we are able to keep the home together. Make sure that his food is given. Make sure the kids are well looked after. Make sure the husband is well looked after at all times, and don't grudge. I try to give myself to people in terms of needs. I try to recognize people's needs, and at the moment of that need, I try to help. And it's a legacy I try to sound to my kids at all times. Recognize needs at that point and do it. Because at the point that you recognize it, if you don't offer the assistance, it may not be meaningful again. But if at the time that a need arises and you can do it, promptly do it. And I cannot manage people who are not sincere. I cannot. And that is the only thing that bothers me about life. And once I find out that they are not one way, I make my U-turn and I don't go back again. And that's one thing I have learned, I have seen, and I'm trying to learn from Mr. President Bola Tinubu. The way he can switch from being so hot and then swim as if nothing happened and carry on. That is tough for me. And I hope I'll be able to, within the space remaining, I'll be able to copy that. At the same time, I like hardworking. I recognize people who are hardworking, who are intelligent, and I recognize people who are hardworking and need to be helped in terms of training to be a better person. And I like fun. Now, let me start with that girl child. That girl child is not so common again. At least most female children are educated now. Outside Lagos, girl child is a big reference. Yeah, I think everybody should be given equal chance to make a life, and a life worth living and contented with. Because if you don't have enough drive and motivation, then life becomes static and you just wear it out and go. But I believe that for women, don't let the men scare you off. You are equally hardworking and intelligent. Expose yourself, but don't mess yourself around. Don't get corrupt. Do unto others as you want others to do unto you. And there's one good prayer. Everybody that knows me, and I always say, my God is a just God. His judgment is always fair. So whoever hurts you, attacks you, leave them to God. He's a fair God. The judgment of God will come. Just move on and pray that in your lifetime, that judgment comes up. My favorite food, I like eba and ewedu I'm an expert in cooking. I love cooking, and I tell you, I can challenge anybody to come and compete with me. On that level, I score a good card. But I love fresh fish, with ewedu and eba. I'm not too much of an amala fan, and my favorite color is green. Or it's green, but with that green, I love bright colors. Even jewelry, it has to be bright for me, but still worn in a conservative way. As loud as whatever I pick may be, I still give it a conservative umbrella. I love to dance. I'm a good dancer. I love to socialize. I'm a good mixer, but highly disciplined.
Well, thank you very much indeed. My name is Stephen Kola Balogun. I happen to be a lawyer, and should I call myself a pseudo-politician? Not quite a politician, but I've served in government before. And I'm delighted to be here. Well, thank you very much. Well, yes, is it my family or the wider family? Like I said, I'm the son of Chief Dr. Kolawole Balogun of blessed memory. Like I said, he was a former politician, a frontline politician. He was the General Secretary of the National Council of Nigeria and the Cameroons, later National Council of Nigerian Citizens. He was the General Secretary of that party for about 8 years. From there, he was appointed by Souq to become a federal minister. He was initially a federal minister without portfolio. Consequently, after that, he became acting minister for labor, social services, and then he became Nigeria's first federal minister for information in 1956. He held that portfolio to 1958. Thereafter, he resigned from government. He had disagreement with the party. And Tafawa Balewa felt that he was a useful politician that could be sent to Ghana. And he went to Ghana to find out what was. Ghana was a bit ahead of us in terms of politics at the time. And I think it's fair to say they got independence just before us. And Tafawa Balewa wanted someone to understudy, to find out what we're doing. So he sent Kola Balogun there. Initially, he was commissioner, and later, when we gained independence in 1960, he became High Commissioner. Shortly after that, when we became independent, he yearned to come home. He wanted to take part in the new political atmosphere at the time. He asked the Prime Minister to relieve him, to let him come back, and he did come back home. And immediately he took up the position of being chairman of the National Shipping Line. That was the position he held on to until the military struck in 1966. But even then, when the military did strike in 1966, he still continued. I think General Debayo of blessed memory invited him to join his cabinet, and he served as a commissioner for about 3 years or more. I think he was commissioner for health and was commissioner for education. Later, he also became chairman of the sketch group of companies as well. And that was about it. I think after his stint in government, he decided to go and do a PhD at the University of Ibadan. And then he went back into private legal practice. And then he started this agitation for the creation of Osun State. He and a few others set up the movement. He was the chairman of the movement. And then to the glory of God in 1991, Ocean State was created. And that's it.
Tell us about mommy.
Well, yes, my mother. Well, in those days, the women once were not so much in the forefront, But my mother has been my bedrock. She stood by me, and she has backed me in most of the things I've set out to do, And she's still alive. She's 89 this year, and she's still doing well, and she's still
and your wife
going
and
strong.
the kids?
Yes, my children. Yes, I have 3 girls, 3 daughters. My oldest is 31. She studied at King's College London. She did reasonably well. She got a 7th class upper. Proud of her. She's an art curator today. And I have twin girls as well who are also in university now, that they haven't graduated yet. One of them is in Oxford University. She's studying history and politics. And the other is in Cambridge University. She's studying human, social, and political sciences. So, yeah. I did. I mean, my father, Chief Kolawole Balogun of blessed memory. Yes, he was in the first cabinet in the First Republic, the first ever cabinet Nigeria had, and he served as the Federal Minister of Information and Research. As a matter of fact, he happened to be Nigeria's first information minister. Later, T.O.S. Benson, of course, became the independent Nigeria's first information minister, but independent Nigeria. But Nigeria's first ever information minister happened to be Chief Kolawole Balogun of blessed memory. No, I didn't. I took an opposite route from my father. My father went into politics immediately after he finished his education, and then he now ventured into law a little bit later. I decided to look at things differently. I thought that after academics I should practice law a bit, and that's what I've been doing. But at some point, I think that was in about 2011, I was called upon to serve in the Ocean State government as a commissioner, and I took up that opportunity, and I enjoyed myself. Well, I am in the sense that I'm 65 years old now, and I think it's fair to say that we belong to, well, I won't say the first set, but one of those who benefited from Nigerian education. I schooled here. I went to secondary school in the West. I went to the University of Ife, went to the Nigerian Law School. And I think it's fair to say that all the schools at that time were of high quality, produced top quality students who went on to make names for themselves, not just here in Nigeria, but also abroad. I think we still do that now, even though the standard of education has dropped. The sad thing about it is that Nigeria could have been a lot better in terms of the potential, because Nigeria does have a lot of potential. We do have very brilliant young men and women, and I just think that if we had invested more in education, that we could have, the sky would have been the limit, actually. Well, my take on this is that it's the system of law itself. As a young lawyer, I experienced a few challenges myself, and I think one of the obvious challenges is the appeal structure. It's too easy to appeal against judgments. At the same time, when you file actions in court, there are no penalties for costs. In other words, I can file a frivolous action. I could insult you, as an example, and then you could sue me. And I say to myself, well, I'm going to eke it out. I'm going to take it. You're going to have to take me all the way to the Supreme Court. That doesn't make sense. That's not fair. On the other hand, I could also file a frivolous application against you. And then filing a frivolous application, I could call you something you are not. I could defame you. And in so doing, you expect at least that once you prove your case, that I will be made to pay the penalties for filing frivolous applications. But that doesn't happen. And then, of course, the conditions of the judges. I mean, the judges are still writing longhand. They do trials, they sit there, they listen to witnesses, give evidence, and they have to write all these things down longhand. So there's so many challenges that has hampered the progress of law. And there hasn't been enough investment, I must say. Well, I agree with that, and I'm going to give an example as to how that I think we could possibly do that. Now, the Supreme Court hears everything. It's the final court in Nigeria, so they're going to hear issues related to criminal law, civil matters, constitutional matters, as you know, all these matters that's got to do with elections, so on and so forth. As a matter of fact, when we have an election cycle, the legal system slows down because the judges are hampered. They're too busy listening to the various appeals from the various states and the federal government to do with the elections. So as a consequence, the other matters to deal with shipping, banking, criminal law are put on the back burner. I think we need what you call a constitutional court, whereby which the judges in the Supreme Court are divided. So you have those judges whose responsibility it is entirely to deal with constitutional matters, and then you have another set whose duty will be to deal with shipping, banking, civil matters, criminal matters, and so on and so forth. So I believe it's high time Nigeria has a constitutional court to try and aid the Supreme Court with the workload they have, which is, quite frankly, quite a bit. Well, Nigerians, with respect, are very brilliant, very intelligent, and they are very aware. It doesn't matter who you are, whether you're a tailor, you're a driver, you're a lawyer, engineer, they are quite well informed. And the truth of the matter really is that this is the longest republic we've had. This republic started in 1999, and this is 2025, so 26 years. Nigeria's never had a republic this long. But the main flaw is the one you just mentioned. The fact that that constitution that was bequeathed to us by the military in 1999 was never really approved by the people. Now, that doesn't make sense, and that's unfair, in fairness. We ought to be able to look at the constitution, improve upon it, and put our own input into it. Now, there's a way around that, and I've always believed, many people oppose this, but I'm of the view that what Nigerians need to have is a referendum. Have a referendum to ask the Nigerian people whether they want to persist with the 1999 constitution, or do they want to drop a new one? If the answer to that question is yes, we want to drop a new constitution, then that puts paid to the 1999 constitution, and then you can now have a system, a constituent assembly, whatever the case may be, where people will sit around the table and fashion out a new constitution. If the people say no, that means they've indirectly approved the 1999 constitution, and then we continue with it. But what we can't do is continue having this debate, these arguments as to whether the 1999 constitution has been approved by Nigerians or not, because it has not been. So I think the way around that is to ask the Nigerian people through a referendum, asking them whether they want to persist with this constitution. If they say no, then we have a new one. If they say yes, we continue with the old one. And that ends the debate. Every system has its merits. Every system has its advantages and disadvantages. To some extent, the presidential system of government has an advantage. It has the advantage in the sense that it has brought government nearer to the people. So the people of Osun, from where I'm from, for instance, now, have their own state. Same thing I'm saying, it's been replicated across the country. However, the drawbacks, the disadvantage is the fact that it's extremely expensive. Now, look at Nigeria, for instance, now. We have 36 state governments. So that means we have 36 governments in Nigeria. If you add the government of Abuja, if you add the federal government, that's 38. Now, each one of these governments have some form of legislature, judiciary, an executive as well, local government, civil service. It's too expensive. Look, in America, where we borrowed this system from, the states came together to form a union. This is totally different. We are doing it the opposite way. So we've had a structure that we're now going back. So at the end of the day, many of the state governments are still dependent on the federal government. And as a consequence, the kind of progress we ought to be making, we're not quite making it. So I personally, and this is a personal view because others would disagree, I would prefer that we reduce the size of government by having some kind of regional structure. And I believe that that will reduce the burden of governments. And if we can reduce the burdens of government, we can use this money to do many other things. And I also think it will also improve standards as well. Not just standards of government or parliamentary standards or whatever the case may be, but there'll be less people involved in the political system. And that would help us a great deal. Well, I think it's fair to say that since 1999, we haven't had any new state creation. I know there's been agitation for the creation of states, but there hasn't been any. The process for creating a state is quite cumbersome. It's not easy. I think it's in section 8 and 9 of the Constitution. I don't think it's something we should be looking at. I think, like I said to you earlier, I think we should be trying to reduce the number of states, and I think some kind of regional structure whereby which we can monitor better what's going on rather than having more states. So I personally would not encourage the creation of more states, no. In the 1950s, we had 3 regions, if I'm correct. Those regions were the West, the East, and the North. We had the colony of Lagos, but if I'm right, I think it was the Macpherson Constitution, I think it is, I'm not too sure, that now put Lagos under the Western region. Now, when Lagos was placed under the Western region, lots of people were not happy about that. I remember it was the NCNC. The NCNC people were not particularly pleased, neither were the NPC. So they felt that Lagos belonged to everybody. Like you said, lots of people from different walks of life, different tribes, different backgrounds, and all schooled. I mean, Zik schooled in Lagos. He went to MBHS. So it was the issue was sent to London to arbitrate. I think it was Oliver Littleton that arbitrated over the matter. And it was decided that Lagos should stand on its own, that Lagos should not be merged with any of the regions. And that was how Lagos was able to free itself from the shackles of the Western region. It's fair to say that the position of the NCNC was actually argued in London by my father. That's why I'm quite familiar with this. But talking about Lagos, when the military, after that, we had what you called a minister for Lagos. I think there was Ribadu, and I think there was one other person, but I think it was Yaradua, not the same Yaradua, but his father. And then later after that, when the military struck, they created the state of Lagos. So the issue of giving Lagos special status has more or less been taken over by events. Lagos is a state, and as a state, it's still home to different people with different backgrounds, from different tribes, and it's thriving. I think it's fair to say that Lagos is probably the most prosperous state in the country. And it's just a question of its continuing with good governance and improving the strides they have made. Once again, let's go back to the past. we had what we used to call the House of Chiefs, wasn't it? You know, and in those House of Chiefs, many of the members of the House of Chiefs were people, were traditional rulers, chiefs of from different backgrounds, and they had a say in the running of the affairs of state. You know, it's like it was more or less akin to the House of Lords. So it wasn't necessarily the chamber whereby which the activities of day-to-day governance took place, but they could always refer issues to them. And I think that if we change our structure of governance, and if, that's a big if, then yes, we can have something like that. We can have a second chamber, which is more or less advisory in nature, similar to the House of Lords, whereby which we will have obas and chiefs and people of influence who will be able to advise government from day to day from the experiences and the way forward, but not necessarily binding. I think that's important. That decisions won't necessarily be binding on us, but at least they'll be able to share their views and experiences with the people. That's a big issue. I was commissioner for youth in Oshun about 10 years ago under Rauf Aregbesola, and it was an issue we took quite seriously. In Oshun State, we had quite a number of youths who were unemployed, and the governor thought, what can I possibly do to give them something to do, to keep them employed? So he created what we call the Osun State Youth Empowerment Scheme. Now, under the State Youth Empowerment Scheme, unemployed youths were given particular tasks in the state. Help us sweep the roads. Some were part-time lecturers. Some were doing all sorts of things. They were given a stipend. It wasn't a full-blown salary. But the salary, although the stipend was enough to keep them to be able to buy things, to be able to buy themselves drinks and food, and kept them occupied until they could find themselves a job. And I think the federal government could follow that kind of scheme, set up a youth empowerment scheme whereby which unemployed youths are given things to do. There's so many things that need to be done in Nigeria. You know, there's so many gaps whereby which the youths can help do that. In the interim, while they find themselves something more gainful or something more permanent. So it's a question, it's for government to do. It's for government to think of a way of helping out the youths. And of course, there should be partnerships, a partnership between the government and private enterprise to try and encourage them to take on more of our youths, and not necessarily those who have schooled abroad, who they think are probably the best in terms of employment. No, we have many here who can do a good job as well. Sustaining democracy is about discipline. It's about the people being disciplined. It's about those who rule us being disciplined. I started out by telling you that this is the longest government we've had. It's the longest republic we've had. We've had democracy now since 1999, 26 years. If you go back to the days of independence, there's been no republic that has been this long. So it shows that the people have embraced democracy. They've come to it's part of us now. They've come to enjoy it. Yes, there are hiccups in terms of the fact that we could do a lot better in terms of how we implement things. But in terms of the people yearning for democracy and imbibing it, I think we've done very well. And what we just need to do is just to try and perfect it. One of the ways, like I said much earlier, is to perhaps take a second look at the Constitution, see where areas where we can improve, and try and make people happy, and at the same time reduce the cost of governance. But I don't think democracy is going anywhere. I think it's here to stay.
would say now he's gotten the job. If this question had come before now, I would be able to say that I do not think we need him. But he's there now, so all we need to do is see what best he can do or what best we can do to support him to succeed. Now, going by his previous records, going by all that he's achieved in sports, ordinarily one wouldn't have said he's the best for the Super Eagles at this time. But here we are. Decision makers have made their decisions. They've taken the decisions. We can only talk, but they already have their way. Well, I think his assessment will start when he starts playing games. He's not had any game with Nigeria, so we can't assess him. But going by his previous records, I don't think he would have been the best for Nigeria at this time. Not against other homegrown indigenous coaches who have had better records within and outside Nigeria. On a scale of 1 to 10, I don't think Shele will fit in at any point. But of course, having him been appointed, all we need to do is give support and see the best that we can get from him being Nigerians. And of course, at all times, irrespective of whatever decisions are taken, we want Nigeria to excel. Because in Nigeria's excellence, we are proud. In Nigeria's excellence, those of us that are in the media and sporting media, to be precise, we can do business. If Nigeria is not winning, the biggest brand for Nigeria is the Super Eagles, sports-wise. So if Nigeria is not winning, if Nigeria is not making waves, then we don't have business to do. So it's in our interest that he succeeds. So to that extent, I would say yes. But looking at his appointment, I think it's just a part of the over-politicization of the sporting industry. Power show by the immediate past president of the Football Federation, Melvin Pinnick Amaju. Having failed in his 2 terms, continues to transverse the terrain to show he still has power. And of course, he brought Shele. And of course, the Shehu Gusau, the incumbent president of the Football Federation, has to listen to his master. So his master's voice, that's what we're experiencing. If they like, let them bring the Herusadi. You see, there are things about Nigeria and Nigerian sports that should not surprise anybody. Politics are played everywhere, and balancing of acts are played everywhere. Federal character everywhere. And the federal character thing is just all very pretentious things they do. Yeah, it's definitely not for the interest of Nigeria. Just to show that, okay, we've taken somebody from the south, or we've taken one from the west, or we are now taking from the north. Who will we take in the north? Let's bring Ahmed Musa. He's calm. He'll be able to talk to the players. What is he going to say to the players? He's past his prime a long time ago. So it's all politics and not in the interest of the nation. I can tell you that. But for Chele going around Europe, yes, he has to. Because everywhere you go, to be the chief coach of the Nigerian national team, senior national team, can be a huge task. Because every day you have Nigerian boys showing up in big leagues, in small clubs, in championship clubs, even around the country. You find players everywhere. Nigeria, I think today, if we are not exporting oil, I think we are exporting footballers to everywhere, even those that are born abroad. I mean, you can imagine this young boy at Arsenal, 17, Ethnan Waneri, and there's an Okoli, there's Ndidi. You have both at Leicester City. So everywhere you go, you see Nigerian boys showing stuff. So to be the coach of a Nigerian team at the level of Super Eagles is a huge task. One would expect that we should have a scouting department. One would expect that we have a department that should take charge of team psychology. We expect that we have the technical department or the directorate for technical at the Football Federation to be well equipped with people that are sound in mind, sound technically, and have capacity to work and deliver. With all of that put together, then they should be able to advise and situate the coach at the point where he can deliver and work well. Well, you see, I said yes, because I've been one of those that have always been clamoring that there's need to have a National Sports Commission. Now, having a National Sports Commission that is populated or that is headed by politicians is neither here nor there. It may not take us anywhere. We need to separate our sport. Yes, sports, you cannot do away with politics at some level. But in terms of the administration, in terms of the management, in terms of the execution, there's need to be able to separate sports and politics. In the days where we held sway in sports, where the National Sports Commission functioned effectively, all of those that occupied the position as Director General, as directors in the then National Sports Commission, were professionals. If you recall from the days of Abraham Odia, Awotro Eleya, and of course Isaac Akioye, that laid the structure and foundation for a proper National Sports Commission just after the All-Africa Games, was a thoroughbred professional from the University of Ife. And there are other such professionals all about this country. And you need to ask, if we are not able to seek and give these people jobs and give them tasks to deliver, we always will go look for political loyalists to put in positions so that they answer to us. Politics is just, to me these days, it's more like a window of a window for public relations for political parties and individuals that are into politics to express themselves, or maybe also at the same time also reward loyalists. That's what we find. So in terms of the technicalities on administration and management of sports, in its true sense, we're still very far from it. Plenty improvement, I would say. The current managers of the league are doing everything they can to ensure that our league gets back to a competitive level at the continent, gets back to a competitive level at the rate at which we, those of us local people like myself, can appreciate our football and our footballers once again. The question to ask is to say, are we doing enough? The answer will be no. Who are those not doing enough? The media, the sporting media in Nigeria is not doing well enough. Would I say sporting media? Yes. And also the bigger media is not doing well enough. And because we are not doing well enough, that's why our league is still where it is. We would have gone further than this. The other aspect of it is government. Government across the states. Football business is supposed to be good business. Football business is supposed to be run by private individuals and clubs. There's nothing wrong to say that the people of a particular state cannot run a football club in conjunction with other private individuals who will be stakeholders and are interested in the promotion of sport and football in the sense that we're talking about it now. But what we have is that we have state governments owning football teams, and those that are administering the football teams are SA this, SA that have been appointed as a reward, that have been appointed because they are loyal, that have been appointed because they can talk a little bit about foreign leagues. Somebody can talk about the league, talk about the La Liga and the EPL, and that qualifies him to be SA in charge of sports in some states of the federation. And these are the bunch of persons or the group of persons who are running our football around the country. So who runs the clubs, the texture of the clubs, what names the clubs are bearing, what history behind the clubs, and those are the things that tells you that the states are not doing enough, the Football Federation not doing enough, but I think largely the media, check out our sports programs. All you find are talking heads talking about who scored the best goal in the world, who scored the best goal in Europe, who scored the best goal in England and all that. That's what we find. You hardly will see shows, package shows about the best goals of the Nigerian League over the past weekend. The best goals, the best dribbles, how many passes, proper statistics, because the media is not doing enough. The sporting media, that is journalists, that are practitioners, they are not doing enough because they are not tasking themselves. They just go on the internet, download one or two things, watch and everything. All you know is you take, as a content creator in sports, you need to just take a shot of the goal that the assist that Nwaneri gave, or Merino scored a goal for Arsenal, and you superimpose yourself and you talk over it, and that's content, and you post it, and there are likes and there are followers, and that's it, what we do. But you do not have individuals going to places to take content. All around Lagos, that's we look at as we are now, all around Nigeria, sports is going on every day. As a practitioner myself, in those days when I used to be the street reporter, we covered football from everywhere, from Abeson, from Bagada, from Volkswagen.
A very good afternoon to you and welcome to the World News, reaching you live from our studios at Souq News Television. I am Oyinprie Krumale. Now let's begin with the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Says it is planning to impose export quotas on cobalt after a 4-month export ban to curb a global supply glut. This was said during a cabinet meeting where it was noted that the quotas will regulate exports and encourage local mineral transformation as cobalt prices remain historically low due to weak demand from automakers. To stabilize global supply and pricing, the DRC is partnering with Indonesia, another key cobalt producer. Both countries have discussed strategies to regulate cobalt market, with Indonesia planning to increase production royalty fees on cobalt content in nickel mate. And South Africa rand fell by 0.3% against the dollar today, ahead of the South African Reserve Bank interest rate decision. Market uncertainty was fueled by budget deadlock, United States trade tensions, and investor concern over President Donald Trump's tariffs. Economists expect the South African Reserve Bank to keep rates steady, though some analysts suggest that a rate cut could boost sentiment. Inflation data released on Wednesday showed lower than expected figures, raising hopes for monetary easing. Meanwhile, South Africa's top stock index dropped by 0.2%, and the benchmark 2030 government bond saw a slight gain, with its yield falling by 1 basis point to 9.075%. And now on market shift, Ivory Coast's Coffee and Cocoa Council plans to increase the fragment and the price of cocoa by at least 11% for the mid-crop season starting in April. The new price will range between 2,000 to 3,000 CFA franc per kilogram, up from 1,800 CFA franc, allowing President Alassane Ouattara's directive to align with market trends. Despite recent declines in cocoa futures, the Coffee and Cocoa Council justified the price hike due to strong past sales and a bullish market. However, concerns remain over the country's lowest mid-crop output in a decade due to prolonged dry weather, with production expected to fall to between 280,000 and 300,000 metric tons. To support local processing, the regulator reserved the mid-crop harvest for domestic grinders, selling contracts for 275,000 metric tons, while export contracts remain on track. Industry stakeholders are already strategizing for the next cocoa season, according to reports. And now on Egypt's economic growth is projected to improve in the second quarter, driven by industrial development and structural reforms, according to Planning Minister Renaya Al-Mashad. Speaking at the American Chamber of Commerce Iftar, she emphasized the importance of public-private collaboration, investment in technology, and green economy initiatives to ensure sustainable growth. Al-Mashad highlighted Egypt's shift toward an export-driven economy, leveraging its industrial base, skilled workforce, and strategic trade positions. She noted that private sector investment now makes up 63% of total GDP investments, while fiscal and monetary reforms have stabilized foreign exchange reserves and boosted investor confidence.
with a projected GDP growth rate rising from 2.4% to 3.5%. Egypt is also seeing improvement in its industrial output, ICT sector, and non-petroleum exports. Inflation has begun to decline, while foreign direct investment and tourism revenues continues to grow, positioning Egypt as a regional trade and green energy hub. Away from that to the Asian market, where mostly gain after the United States Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell suggested inflation caused by tariffs would be temporary. Despite slashing growth forecasts and raising inflation expectations, Mr. Jerome Powell reassured investors that economic activity remained stable, easing concerns over future rate hikes. Following Powell's remarks, the United States Treasury yields dropped and Wall Street's maintained indexes rallied, boosting markets in Sydney, Seoul, and Singapore. However, Hong Kong and Shanghai slipped after recent strong gains, while Tokyo remained closed for a holiday. Meanwhile, oil prices surged due to renewed tensions in the Middle East. Gold also reached a record high, driven by ongoing trade uncertainties and geopolitical risks in Eastern Europe. Now, coming up next on the world news, China imposes new tariffs on Canadian agricultural products. We'll bring you details of that story in a moment. Stay with us.
We've got just what you need right here at Femi Wash Media. Call it the Midas Touch, and you wouldn't be wrong. Let us record, produce, mix, and master your audio like nobody does. Reach us on our contact today for the best quality job.
Welcome back. It's good to know you're there. China has imposed fresh tariffs on Canadian products, including rapeseed oil and pork, starting today. The levies reaching up to 100% on some goods follow a probe into Canadians' tariffs on Chinese imports. Industry leaders warn that the move will severely impact Canadian farmers. Canola Council President Chris Davison described the tariffs as devastating, urging Canada to engage with China for resolution. The dispute adds to growing trade tensions between the two nations, especially as both countries faces pressure from the United States policies. Beijing's Commerce Ministry claims Canada's tariffs disrupted trade chains and hammered Chinese businesses. Some Beijing residents support the tariffs, saying China no longer needs to rely on foreign goods. Now, London has moved closer to New York in the latest Global Financial Centers Index, narrowing the gap to just 7 points. The UK capital's rise by 12 points suggests that policy efforts to strengthen its banking and investment sectors are yielding results. Meanwhile, United States financial hubs posted the lowest average improvement, indicating possible concerns over market performance. Hong Kong retained its third-place ranking ahead of Singapore, while Seoul re-entered the top 10. Dubai saw notable growth, climbing 4 places to the 12th, and Amsterdam jumped 9 places to 18th. The rankings were based on data from institutions like the World Bank and responses from nearly 5,000 industry participants. The United Kingdom's financial markets industry continues to face challenges post-Brexit, with regulators working on reforming to maintain competitiveness. At the same time, global market confidence remains uncertain, with trade tensions and economic risks influencing financial stability. Moving on, the Swiss National Bank. We'll go on a break in a moment. I'll be back in a moment. To stay with us.
You've got just what you need right here at Femi Wash Media. Call it the Midas Touch, and you wouldn't be wrong. Let us record, produce, mix, and master your audio like nobody does. Reach us on our contact today for the best quality job.
What keeps the heartbeat of a community alive? Is it the courage to create, the power to connect, the vision to transform? Well, it's all of these and more. It's a symphony of ideas, innovation, and industry. But where do these stories come alive? It's right here on The Isle, 104.9 FM, the station where dreams meet action and growth finds its voice. The Isle, 104.9. Business, economy, development. Stay tuned.
The Three Wise Men. Iconic sculptures and statues adorn major metropolitan cities of the world. In Lagos, Nigeria, the statue of three men designed to depict the state's cultural heritage.
Now, the Swiss National Bank has announced a reduction in its interest rate by 25 basis points, lowering the main rate to 0.25%. This decision aligns with the market expectation as traders had already priced in a more than 70% probability of such cut. The move comes in response to ongoing low inflationary pressure, which has led the central bank to adjust its monetary policy to maintain price stability. In its official statement, the SNB emphasized that this adjustment ensures appropriate monetary conditions amid the existing ongoing economic challenges. The central bank also reiterated its commitment to closely monitoring economic trends and making further policy changes if necessary. Now, artificial intelligence continues to evolve, reshaping industries and the daily life with a rapid advancement in machine learning, automation, and data processing. From the healthcare, diagnostics, and financial forecasting to personalized education and creative content generation, AI is becoming more sophisticated and accessible. Governments and corporations worldwide are investing heavily in AI-driven innovations, with global spending on AI expected to exceed $300 billion by the year 2026. However, regulatory challenges remain, particularly in regions with strict data privacy laws like the European Union. Amid this progress, Meta has expanded its AI assistant, Meta AI, to 41 European countries after months of regulatory delays. Unlike its United States counterpart, which can generate images, the European version is limited to text-based responses due to compliance with EU data protection laws. Meta AI also integrates web search for improved accuracy, but does not use training data from EU users. To solidify its position in the AI race, Meta has committed up to $65 billion in AI infrastructure, including data centers and the servers. With 700 million monthly active users, the company aims to expand further, positioning itself as a key player in the rapidly evolving AI landscape. Now, gold surged to the all-time new high as of $3,057.21 per ounce on Thursday, driven by expectation of United States Federal Reserve rate cuts and ongoing economic uncertainties. Spot gold held steady at the $3,047.10, while U.S. gold futures rose 0.4% to $3,054.10. The Fed maintained its benchmark rate cut projected to 2 rate cuts by the end of 2025. Analysts cite geopolitical tensions, tariff concerns, and a weaker U.S. dollar as key factors boosting gold's appeal as a safe haven asset. Gold has now reached 16 record high this year, with 4 surpassing $3,000, while analysts anticipate some market corrections. Gold's strong performance continues amid economic and political uncertainties. You're still watching Souq News Television World News. We'll be back in a moment. Do join us again. Welcome back. Oil price surged today, driven by a positive demand outlook in the United States following a larger than expected decline in fuel inventories and a weakening of the United States economy and the dollar. Brent crude futures climbed 34 cents or 0.5%, reaching $71.12 per barrel, the highest level since early March. Meanwhile, United States West Texas Intermediate crude gained 42 cents or 0.6%, settling at $67.58. Government data revealed that United States distillate inventories, including diesel and heating oil, fell by 2,800,000 barrels last week, significantly surpassing the anticipated drop of 300,000 barrels. Despite a rise in U.S. crude stockpiles by 1,700,000 barrels, exceeding forecasts, the overall demand outlook remained strong. Analysts noted that global oil consumption averaged 101,800,000 barrels per day, marking a 1,500,000 barrels per day annual increase. In Brazil, the central bank has increased interest rates by 14.25%, the highest in 9 years, in a bid to control inflation. This marks the 5th consecutive hike, despite President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva's opposition as he pushes for lower rates to spur economic growth. The bank cited persistent inflation, external economic challenges, and slowing growth as a reason for the decision. Inflation hit 5.0% in March, surpassing the government's target, leading officials to cut import tariffs on essential goods like meat, coffee, and oil. Despite economic concerns, Brazil recorded 3.4% growth and a 6.5% unemployment rate. Lula da Silva warns that high borrowing costs could hurt consumers and businesses, but the central bank signals a possible smaller rate hike in May. Moving ahead, President Donald Trump urged the Federal Reserve to lower interest rates, arguing that it would offset the impact of its tariffs. His remarks followed the Fed's decision to keep rates steady while adjusting to economic forecasts. Trump insisted that April the 2nd, when he plans to impose new tariffs, would mark a turning point for the economy. However, he emphasized that reducing interest rates is also necessary for economic stability. Now, in another development, the United States Federal Reserve maintained its benchmark interest rate at 4.25 to 4.50%, signaling no urgency to cut rates due to economic uncertainties and potential tariff impacts. The Fed Chair, Jerome Powell, emphasized a wait-and-see approach, citing the need for greater clarity on inflation and growth. Global market reacted as the dollar edged higher, while the British pound slipped ahead of the Bank of England's policy decision. Meanwhile, the Swiss National Bank cut its rate to 0.25%, and the Swedish Riksbank held rates steady, reflecting mixed central bank strategies amid evolving economic conditions. Now, lastly, in the world of sport, FIFA has more than doubled the rights fee for broadcasting the World Cup in Russia through a new deal with Match TV. The agreement highlights the growth competition among broadcasters in the country, making FIFA one of the biggest beneficiaries of Russia's lucrative sports media market. Despite previous restrictions on Russian sports broadcasting, the deal signals strong demand for premium football content. FIFA has continued to leverage its global tournament to secure high fees even as international tensions impact sports rights negotiation. The move follows a similar trend in Russia, where La Liga also nearly doubled its broadcasting fee with Match TV. The increasing value of sports rights in the country suggests that the demand for top-tier football remains high despite geopolitical uncertainties, according to reports. And that's a wrap on the global news on Souq News Television. Many thanks for watching. Do well to follow us on all our social media platforms at Souq News TV. I am Oyinpriye Krumale. Good afternoon to you.
Africa Development Studies Center, ADSC, we are committed to driving sustainable growth and development across Africa through innovative training and research. Our mission, empowering leaders, policymakers, and professionals with the tools they need to create lasting change. With customized training, dynamic research programs, and study exchanges on leadership, management, and other critical development topics, ADSC offers a platform for exchanging cutting-edge ideas and global best practices. We provide comprehensive services in research and consultancy, capacity building and training, education programs, publishing and knowledge sharing. Our esteemed faculty, composed of seasoned experts and researchers, ensures a learning experience that is insightful and practical. We specialize in policy development, implementation strategies, monitoring, and evaluation. At ADSC, learning is engaging and enjoyable. Our unique methodology includes talks, interactive exercises, games, video screenings, and lively seminar discussions, all in a comfortable and friendly environment. Ready to make an impact? For more information, email us at info@adstudycenter.com or call +234 912 439 2362. Visit us today at www.adstudycenter.com to explore our programs and upcoming events. Africa Development Studies Center, rethinking development for Africa.
From the early days of humanity, when people roamed the earth unclothed, to the Stone Age when leaves and natural materials were used for modesty, clothing has undergone a remarkable transformation. As we progress to the weaving of fabrics and the art of textile printing, Ankara emerged as one of the earliest and most distinctive forms of attire. Today, Ankara has evolved beyond its origins, becoming a significant cultural symbol for various ethnic groups, states, and nations. Ankara, more than just a fabric, it's a symbol of pride and culture for millions across West Africa, deeply embedded in their identity and heritage. I bet you've been in touch with this fabric one way or the other, but have you ever asked where and how it all began? The journey and history of Ankara is what we are about to uncover, and how it became a powerful emblem of African heritage. The story of Ankara begins not in Africa, but thousands of miles away in Indonesia, using the batik techniques. Batik is an ancient Indonesian art from where wax is used to create different patterns on fabric. The process involves applying wax to certain areas of the fabric to resist dye, creating elaborate designs. In the 19th century, Dutch colonizers who controlled Indonesia recognized the appeal of batik and then sought to replicate it. They adapted the technique using industrial methods such as roller printing to produce the fabric more efficiently and in larger quantities. Talking about its transition to West Africa, Dutch manufacturers initially aimed to sell the printed batik fabric in Indonesia and Europe. However, fabric found a more enthusiastic market in West Africa, where it was embraced for its vibrant colors and patterns. The Dutch prints, while not initially popular in Europe, became highly prized in West African countries, evolving into what is now known as Ankara. How about its cultural integration? Well, the exact individual or company responsible for introducing batik to the African market is not well documented, but over time, Ankara became deeply integrated into West African culture, symbolizing various aspects of identity, status, and tradition. Despite its Indonesian origins, it is now predominantly recognized as a quintessential element of African fashion. It is clear that the adaptation and adoption of batik by Dutch traders played a crucial role in the fabric's journey to West Africa. By the early 20th century, these vibrant fabrics had become deeply embedded in the West African culture, from bustling markets to family gatherings. Ankara was more than just clothing. It was a statement of identity, social status, and unity. Even today, Ankara continues to hold a special place in West African society, alongside other widely recognized fabrics, reflecting the region's rich textile heritage. Talking about human civilization and the remarkable transformation of covering our body, Ankara fabric stands out with a deep historical root. Let's take a look at some of the beautiful collections and hear from one of the biggest retailer in Balogun markets, Lagos Island.
I deal in what you call it, Ankara fabrics. We have the big one, which is vegetable block wax. That's the bigger range. You have the medium range. There are also vegetable block wax. So those are the two types of category that we sell. We buy from wholesalers, which is on the mainland. Then we resell. Like people use it for ashwebi. Some people use it for ready to wear, like tailors. They use it for ready to wear. And some people just buy it for maybe like a mini celebration, or in short, all celebration, ceremony and celebration. So this one now, this is a medium high target, vegetable block wax. This is a medium one. If you touch it, you will see the texture. It's not that 100% cotton. So compared to this one is a big one. Yeah. So when you touch it, you see the difference. Yes. This big one, this medium.
This is big, this is
medium. Yes. That's the difference. This has more quality than this. So that's just the difference. And it's not that this one is bad. It's just that some people's pockets that will determine if you can go for big. Some don't like the medium one. So they go for this. They based on this. Buy some that can't afford this. Just buy this.
So the rest is just about design.
Yes.
The two types that you have here.
Yes.
The rest is just about design, different designs.
It's not.
As West Africa gained independence in the 1960s, Ankara's popularity soared. It became a symbol of African pride, a rejection of colonial influences, and an embrace of cultural heritage. From everyday wear to high fashion, Ankara represented a new era of self-expression.
We are playing with this machine. We have this time, so you can leave it for 5 minutes, you can leave it for 3 minutes, depends on how strong you want it to be. Okay. So and as long as you can keep it for that a couple of times, that's how it is. last.
Will last, okay.
And another thing that make it fade off easily is washing machine.
Oh.
Yeah, when you are using a washing machine.
So it should be hand washed, not.
Not the strong wash. You know, Ankara is not something that, especially when